Today's headlines. President Duterte reports on the highlights and success of his working visit to Japan. The Philippine National Police reports a generally peaceful observance of All Saints' Day. Students in Marawi City return to school following the end of hostilities. And Caritas Manila launches a telethon to collect funds for Marawi's rehabilitation. Good day. I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte described his second working visit to Japan as his most productive and engaging trip to date. The president said he met Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and discussed ways to strengthen bilateral cooperation between Philippines and Japan. Duterte said more projects would be rolled off under Japan's trillion yen or close to $9 billion pledge of assistance. He said they will intensify defense and security cooperation to combat terrorism, violent extremism, and transnational crimes. He also thanked Japan for reaffirming its commitment to the Philippines' pursuit of a just and lasting peace in Mindanao. Another highlight of the working visit was the signing of business agreements valued at $6 billion. This was triple the amount of sealed deals during his first visit to Japan in 2016. Meanwhile, the president said he was humbled by the singular honor of meeting with Emperor Akihito in Tokyo. He added that he looks forward to welcoming Prime Minister Abe and other leaders to the Philippines in the upcoming 31st ASEAN Summit. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe supports President Rodrigo Duterte in his chairmanship of the ASEAN Summit. The two leaders met over dinner at Abe's residence during Duterte's working visit to Japan. The Prime Minister expressed appreciation for Duterte's visit despite his busy schedule, with the ASEAN Summit coming in a few days. Abe also acknowledged that his close personal ties with Duterte are symbolic of the growing brotherhood of their nations. He asked for continued support from all sectors in developing the relationship between Japan and the Philippines. Duterte, meanwhile, vowed to maintain friendship and cooperation between the two countries as they strengthen cooperation in areas of mutual concern. Prime Minister Abe is visiting the Philippines again at the ASEAN Summit to be held on November 10 to 14. The Philippine National Police declared this year's observance of Undas as generally peaceful. The PNP established over 5,800 assistance hubs manned by nearly 28,000 police personnel nationwide. They are aided by over 15,000 road safety marshals. PNP spokesperson Jonardo Carlos, meanwhile, said police confiscated over 2,000 contraband items as of the morning of November 2. The PNP also recorded untoward incidents nationwide, such as alarm and scandal and assault in Police Regional Office 3 and theft in Police Regional Office 5. The PNP assistance hubs will continue operations until tonight. President Rodrigo Duterte reorganized the composition of Task Force Bangon Marawi. Task Force Bangon Marawi is now headed by the chairman of the Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council, or HUDCC, with the Secretary of Department of National Defense and the Secretary of Public Works and Highways as co-vice chairpersons. The Subcommittee on Housing, formerly under the Office of the Cabinet Secretary, will also be headed by the HUDCC. It is primarily responsible for the immediate rehabilitation and construction of shelters and the restoration of water, electricity, and other public utilities. The Subcommittee on Security, Peace, and Order will now be co-headed by the DND and the Department of Interior and Local Government. They will be responsible for the restoration and maintenance of peace and order and the continuity of public services in Marawi City. The reorganization of Task Force Bangon Marawi reflects the shift in the government's priority in rebuilding and developing war-affected areas in Marawi. The Philippines ranked lower in the latest World Bank report on economies that show ease in doing business. Our business reporter Chris Crismundo files this report.
several government agencies vowed to implement reforms to further ease doing business in the country. This is after the Philippines dropped its ranking by 14 notches to 113th in the Doing Business Report 2018 of the World Bank from rank 99 last year. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez said the government will shift its strategy in the Doing Business Report from aiming for incremental increase to leapfrogging its ranking in the annual survey. Lopez added that the government targets the Philippines to be in the top 20% rankings of the Doing Business Report by the end of the Duterte administration. A big part of its strategy to reach its goal is to implement streamlining of processes and roll out automation in the system. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Crismundo.
Still to come, students in Marawi City return to school following the end of hostilities. Authorities prohibit shellfish consumption as the red tide alert is raised over areas in Visayas and Palawan. These and more when the PNA Newsroom continues. Twelve public schools have resumed classes after government troops liberated Marawi City from terrorists. The Bureau of Public Information in the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao said the students returned on Monday to their respective schools after missing months of classes. The BPI said that the Department of Education in ARMM has drafted recovery plans and programs for the school children displaced by the Marawi crisis. The DepEd ARMM will also work on assisting students and school employees in terms of psychological and social needs. An Indonesian national believed to be part of the Maute fighters was arrested by the authorities in Marawi City Wednesday. The Indonesian, identified as Muhammad Ilham Syaputra, was arrested during a clearing operation by government forces in the main battle area of the city. Barangay officials tipped the authorities of Syaputra's presence, leading to his arrest. Authorities said Syaputra was invited by Isnilon Hapilon to take part in the attempt to seize Marawi. He arrived in Manila on November 2016. The Indonesian national hails from Medan, North Sumatra in Indonesia, and was one of the rebels behind the Jakarta terror attacks in January 2016, which left over 15 people dead. Syaputra told authorities that there are still around 20 remaining Maoist stragglers in the battle area. Syaputra reportedly has a bullet wound and was immediately treated. Confiscated from his possession were a cell phone, a fragmentation grenade, an Indonesian passport, and money in Philippine, Saudi Arabia, and Indonesian denominations. Syaputra is expected to be brought to Manila for inquest proceedings. Meanwhile, military officials reported the death of Abu Talha, the alleged right-hand man of Abu Sayyaf leader Isnilon Hapilon. Military officials said Talha and other Maute fighters were killed in a firefight with government troops in Marawi City's war zone on Wednesday night. Another Maute straggler was killed in the main battle area in Marawi on October 31st. Consumers are still discouraged from buying and eating shellfish coming from parts of Palawan and Visayas due to red tide. The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources said the red tide alert is still up in parts of western and eastern Samar. This is caused by paralytic shellfish poison in the waters that is beyond the regulatory limit. Other affected areas are Leyte, Palawan, and Masbate. Meanwhile, the coastal waters of Milagros in Masbate are now free of the toxic red tide. A Cebuano is optimistic about his chances at the International Tennis Federation or ITF Junior Circuit. Arthur Craig Pantino is playing in the two-week ITF FINMA International Juniors Championships at the Manila Polo Club in Makati City. The 16-year-old won the doubles title alongside Kazakhstan's Beybit Zukayev in the first Perlis Junior Championships in Malaysia 3 weeks ago. He, however, lost at the Sarawak Chief Minister's Cup in Malaysia and the PTT ITF Juniors Championships in Thailand. Pantino hopes to improve his game during his 2 remaining years on the junior circuit. He is currently number 384 in the World Juniors rankings. The first leg of the ITF FINMA International Juniors Championships will be held from November 14 to 19, with a second leg following from November 21 to 26. Up next, Caritas Manila launches a telethon to collect funds for Marawi's rehabilitation. The DFA allows the rescheduling of passport appointments to give way to the ASEAN Summit. These and more when the PNA Newsroom returns. The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, reports no Filipinos among the casualties when a suspect using a rented truck ran over pedestrians in downtown Manhattan, New York. The Philippine Consulate General in New York issued an advisory for members of the Filipino community to stay away from the scene of the incident at Chamber and West Streets in Lower Manhattan. It said the police have already taken the suspect into custody. Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano meanwhile expressed the Philippines' sympathies to the U.S. government and the families of the victims. The truck attack left at least 8 people dead and 11 others injured. Authorities have labeled the incident as an act of terrorism. Caritas Manila is encouraging the faithful to support a telethon to help in the recovery of families affected by the conflict in Marawi City. The Damay Kapanalig Marawi Telethon aims to raise funds in rehabilitating affected communities. Among Caritas Manila's proposed projects include food and non-food relief assistance, psychosocial support for peace education, temporary shelter, child-friendly spaces, toilet facilities, and livelihood. Phone lines will be open throughout the Radio Veritas live broadcast and also via live streaming. Listeners are encouraged to call and make their pledges. Donations can be made online to Caritas or to the peso and dollar accounts that you can see on your screen. The Damay Kapanalig Marawi Telethon will be held over church-run Radio Veritas 846 on November 8 from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano and Japan Foreign Minister Taro Kano discussed preparations for the upcoming ASEAN Summit. The Department of Foreign Affairs said among the preparations were the agenda and outcome documents of the ASEAN-Japan Summit and East Asia Summit. However, details of the outcome documents have yet to be disclosed. Back in August, Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Ernesto Pernia said the government is finalizing the documents necessary for the contract signing of the Japan-funded Mega Manila Subway. The subway project costs 227 billion pesos. It is expected to be part of the agenda when Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe visits Manila to attend the summit. The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, rescheduled passport appointment dated November 13 to 15 in preparation for the upcoming ASEAN Summit. The DFA will accommodate appointments set on those dates at any other date until November 29. President Duterte earlier declared November 13 to 15 as special non-working days for the ASEAN Summit. Affected offices are the DFA Asiana in Parañaque City and consular offices in the National Capital Region and the province of Pampanga, which will be closed for the event. Except in Pampanga, applicants from DFA NCR and DFA Asiana may also be accommodated on Saturday, November 18 from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Meanwhile, the DFA advised walk-in applicants that mall-based consular offices may set limits on the numbers of applicants from November 16 to 22. Ramil has intensified into a tropical storm on its way out of the Philippine Area of Responsibility, or PAR. Pagasa says Ramil was spotted west of Coron, Palawan, moving westward at 16 kilometers per hour. It is expected to leave PAR tonight or Friday morning. Meanwhile, the northeast monsoon continues to affect northern Luzon. Moderate to occasional heavy rains are expected over the provinces of Mindoro, Palawan, Batangas, northern Quezon, including Polillo Island and Aurora. Residents in these areas are alerted against possible floods and landslides. Light to moderate with possible occasional heavy rains will prevail over Metro Manila and the rest of Luzon. Sea travel remains risky over the northern and eastern seaboards of northern Luzon due to Ramil and the surge of the northeast monsoon. Let's take another look at today's headlines. President Duterte reports on the highlights and success of his working visit to Japan. The Philippine National Police reports a generally peaceful observance of All Saints' Day. Students in Marawi City return to school following the end of hostilities. And Caritas Manila launches a telethon to collect funds for Marawi's rehabilitation. The holidays are coming soon. It's 53 days before Christmas. For more stories, please log on to www.pna.gov.ph or visit the PNA page on Facebook and Twitter. And that's your daily dose of the hottest news and the latest information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm William Theo. Good day.